Hi everyone and welcome to the Billinge Runnung Club podcast. Today we have a very special guest. He's been part of the furniture since day one. He's the most iconic group leader at the BRC and the official Let's Take a Selfie at every 1K. Ladies and gentlemen, Ian Trencher. Where's he gone now?
You want a photo?
Come on, let's get it. So thank you for coming on today, Ian. You're one of the oldest members at the BRC. So just to get started, how did you get into running? How did it all start for you?
It started a long time ago.
A long time ago, okay.
When I was a lot younger.
Right.
And a lot faster.
Oh, right, okay.
So at school I predominantly played football, but
Yeah.
I did run as well. I was actually quite fast in my teens. I was
okay.
actually on the school cross-country team
Oh,
and
fantastic.
the athletics team. I could do
Yeah.
1500 metres in 5 minutes 19. I don't go fast these days.
Right, okay.
But I still run. So when I was a bit older, I kept running casually, and then about 15 years or so ago, I upped my distances, got up to half marathons.
Yeah.
But that was on my own in those times.
Yeah.
In those times, races weren't as popular.
Right,
It wasn't
okay.
as mainstream. So I didn't actually enter any events until 2012.
Right, okay.
And in 2012, I moved back to Billinge. Was blessed with all the wonderful countryside round here.
Yeah, there's plenty of that.
And I set myself a goal of in 3 months doing my first half marathon.
Yeah.
I didn't do any old half marathon. I jumped right in at the deep end and I did the Rivington Trail half marathon.
Right,
Now come
okay.
stamped
Wow.
all over it with not for beginners.
Well,
Well, I survived that and I'm still doing events to this day and quite a few of them.
well, I remember my first 10K, similar experience. It's not a half marathon by any means, but my first 10K I ever signed up for was the Rivington night one.
Oh yes,
the
I did that the other year. Yes,
That's not a
the Petzl
10K
night runner.
The Pets, that's it. That's not your first 10K to really start on, is it really? Never mind.
No,
an
it's
half
not. I've
marathon.
done that once. I'm not doing it again because Dan
Yeah.
Miller told me I'd break my legs if
Well-
I did it in the dark.
The terrain is pretty hardcore up there.
It absolutely is. Yes, that's a one-off. And when I did it, I dressed as an alien and I survived to tell the tale.
Jesus Christ, Ian. Well, you've just said there, so your running journey started as a kid.
Yes.
What about other activities, other sports? Did you used to do other things?
Yeah, I
outside of
mentioned I used to play a lot of football.
What about
as a kid?
swimming? I've seen you've been doing some swimming recently.
I do swimming. Swimming is my complement to my running. I go 2 or 3 times a week.
Okay.
That was especially good this week post marathon. Nice and gentle on the body.
Yeah.
And it's great. Now we work from home. I can
Yeah.
manage to swim at lunchtime, so that
Right,
goes
okay.
very well with the running.
And with the swimming side, are we thinking maybe a triathlon, aquathon at some
Well,
point in your
I
career, or-
confess, I'm as slow at swimming as I am at running, and I just do
Right.
I just do a little bit of breaststroke, and I don't go at any speed.
Right. So it's more for the fitness.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, not the
Yeah.
competitive side.
I'm not going for any triathlons or duathlons or swim runs anytime soon.
Yeah. To be honest, the aquathon, like I've done some triathlons myself, but I don't like the bike. I hate the bike. But I love the swim and the run. I love that. But they're quite rare, the aquathons. But yeah. So previous marathons, Ian. There's a lot of them here. You've done Edinburgh, Windermere, Snowdonia, and the Lakeland Trails. Tell me a little bit about those.
Well, the first marathon.
Yeah.
So after I entered my first event, I got all carried away, and then went
Yeah.
and entered my first marathon. That was Edinburgh.
So that was your first one,
That was the
Edinburgh? Right,
first one
okay.
back in 2013.
Yeah.
So about 10 years ago, I entered my first marathon. It was very flat. It was very roady. It was very unlike what I do these days predominantly.
A lot of elevation in
but
the
it-
ones you do these days, Ian,
Yes.
to say the least.
Yeah, so that's probably my least favourite
Yeah.
marathon. And I remember when I did it, people at the end said, "Oh, you'll be back doing another one." And then it was a few years before I entered my my next one, I went for a better one. I went for Windermere.
Right. So how come? Tell me a bit more about that. How come there was a 3-year gap in between those? Did you just not find one that you liked, or?
I think I just had a bit less time in my life. I was doing lots of commuting. Had a young child, etc. So it was a few years before I did my next one. But when I did my next one, I chose a really good one, Windermere.
Right. Okay.
That's his road, but it's hilly, very scenic, and it felt like a really good challenge to run all the way around the lake. That was 2018.
2018. Okay.
That one was a tough finish because it was about 30 degrees heat. At mile 20, I lost the sensation in my fingers. Checked in with St John's ambulance and got to the end by any means possible.
Good God, Ian. See, I don't know how you do it because I'm no ultra or marathon runner myself. Mr. 5K all the time. But Snowdonia, tell me about
Snowdonia. Oh, that was a tough one. I entered that, and in the build up to that, I'd done the Snowdonia Trail half, which went all the way up Snowdon and then back down.
Is that like the same route, or?
No, that one goes up that one goes all the way up the mountain to the top. I'm going back for the marathon version of that next year, in my build up to the 50. But that event prepared me a bit for it. The Snowdonia Marathon, if you don't know, it's quite a tough one. It's predominantly road. There's a bit of trail. Everyone falls down a hill at the end, and there's a big mountain at mile 22. So just when you're struggling at the end, you're going over a big mountain, and that was really tough. I added half an hour on stopping to take photos all the way around because it was so scenic.
Well, we all know that, don't we, about Ian? He loves his photos.
Yeah. Even better than Billinge.
Really? Well, I can imagine the view from up there, Ian. Lakeland Trails.
Oh, that
55k. Was that your first ultra?
That was my first ultra.
Right.
Yeah.
So we can confirm on the podcast, Ian is an ultra runner.
I've got the medal to prove it. Here we go.
There it is.
Yep.
So you are now.
That was hard earned. I started at 9 o'clock in the morning and I was still going at 10 o'clock at night.
I'll put it on. I'll take a picture of it before we leave and I'll get it on the screen so everyone can have a look at that. But that's a huge achievement, Ian. Like, how long did it take you to build up from, say, running marathons to going that distance? Did you take that in your stride because you've done so many marathons? Or
I think it helped. I'd done a lot of events as part of the build-up. My biggest long run in the build-up to that was the Lakeland Trails Marathon, which I did. About 4 or 5 weeks prior.
Okay,
so I built up to that, trained for the marathon, got round that. And then that gave me a bit more confidence that I will get round the ultra.
Yeah.
The ultra was a massive challenge. It was very difficult on the day because of the extreme heat. And what helped me round was seeing a few friendly BRC faces on the way around. Dan and Sarah Miller, the support was much appreciated, and also knowing that I had all of BRC backing me on the chat.
We'll add some of those photos from that day. I'll send me them over later, Ian, and I'll put them on screen now so people can see those. So you've done a lot of long distance, and I believe next year is the big one, the Lakeland 50.
That's it.
Tell me about that.
Yes,
tell me how you're feeling. Like,
how are you going
to build up to that one? And
I entered the 55k with one eye on the 50. Mm-hmm. I then went to cheer off Lewis and Michelle at the start of the 100, and I loved the crowd experience, and that was encouraging me to be part of that for myself the year after. And then when so many people entered, I had fear of missing out, so I had to take the plunge as well, and I actually went to a charity entry to make sure I got in. There's, I think, 16 BRC on that.
16? Oh, I didn't
There's
know
16.
That. Wow.
We're going to be there more banded, all supporting one another. We'll have other people from the club supporting us on the day. It's going to be a great experience. It's going to be very tough. I'm starting to build up towards that now. I'm sure we will get round. I've got
Yeah,
lots of great build-up events lined up.
Nearly lost the camera there, Ian. Sorry, guys. I'll just... it's blowing a gale force today, guys. Let me just put that over there.
As long as it's today and not when I'm doing that ultra next year.
Speaking of ultras, so what's the worst conditions for you? You just said there about the heat.
Extreme heat, I would say.
Extreme heat over cold. Can you deal with the cold? And
I can deal with the cold because I just layer up, wear one of my famous jackets.
Well, yes, the famous jacket. I've got that in here.
A BRC buff. Protects you in any cold conditions.
Ian just said there the BRC jacket. I'll put a picture of that on the screen now because back in the day, you were the BRC Christmas tree, weren't you?
I was. I lit
planes landed on Billinge.
Yeah, really I lit the way. I've become such a prominent leader, I think, because everyone could see me in the early days and nobody was 100%. Losing me in that jacket.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And what happened to the jacket, Ian? Do you still have it to this day? Or?
I don't, unfortunately. It's gone to the great running recycling place in the sky.
Oh no, that was legendary. You should have signed that and put it up in bar. That was something, that Ian.
It absolutely was.
So we're going to go to a little break here. Going to put some, BRC franchise stuff on and associations with B&Q and all that stuff. So we'll be right back in a moment, guys.
That head torch, there's no messing with that though, is there?
What was it, 900 lumens?
950 lumens. No, 900.
900. Right, and we're back, guys. Let's get rolling. Hope you can see us. Ian's bought his, what was it?
I brought my 900 lumens head torch,
yeah.
And that's what's lighting us up now in the darkness at the back of the foot. Well, it's not just good for getting around the woods in the dark.
I know.
It's also good for these kind of videos
for the podcast.
as well.
Well, I brought the microphones, I brought the camera. I got, we've got all the merch here on the table, which I hope you can still see. But I didn't bring any light, did I? Well, I did actually. I did, but this is what I brought, which we was trying to light them earlier, but it's not working in the wind. We was trying to make it a bit romantic, weren't we? So.
My head torch is more romantic.
Yeah,
Get the candles out though, Adam.
It's blown out.
Yeah. Give up on that, Matt. My head torch is more reliable.
Should have thought of that one. Didn't
Half
think
the
of
running
that.
club's got those head torches, by the way, on my recommendation.
Honestly, there'll be BRC head torches soon, won't there? I can see that coming. How do you pronounce it, Ian? The Keilder Marathon.
Keilder.
Keilder.
Yes.
So that was
Sunday.
Yes, that was on Sunday. I looked it up, and it says it's the most beautiful marathon. Can you confirm that?
That's a big challenge, that is.
Okay. I thought you'd know because you've done so many.
I think it is a beautiful marathon, but maybe not the most beautiful. Okay. Because I've done Snowdonia, I've done Lakeland Trails. It's very nice. It's all the way around Keilder water. You've always got a big piece of water near you. And at the start, it looks absolutely massive. It looks like a small sea or something, and I can't believe I actually ran round that, but I did. Wow. I was with sister-in-law Sarah Trencher as well. That was the very first marathon, and she did amazingly. I'll give her a mention. Yeah, 5th lady in her age group and 17th female on the course, I believe.
Fantastic. And
she's faster than me.
Well, I was going to mention that, Ian, but
she might even be faster than her husband and my brother.
Actually, speaking of your brother, he recently did a marathon as well, didn't he?
He did. Yes, he did. Last week he did Berlin. Mm-hmm. That was his first. He got a brilliant sub-4, and I was really pleased for him. He had a challenging time in training because he was picking up a few niggles. And everything went well on the day, and had a great experience, and I know he'll be back to do more.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about some preparation for these runs. your kind of like thoughts on food and gear and stuff. So, you know, you're going into your ultra, what are you taking with you, Ian? What's in your backpack? What's on your feet?
That's a good question. Dan Miller caught me in the one stop the other day getting an entire pack of jelly babies for my marathon.
Like, do you know what's funny? The more of you ultra guys I speak to, and marathon guys, the stuff you all eat, it blows my mind. I'm thinking it's protein shakes and stuff like that, but
I'll tell you what I've been eating in the last year, but since I've started with the Beacon Bash.
Yeah.
Give that a mention. There'll be loads of us on that again in December. But
is that 10k? Sorry, or half?
That's 20 miles.
Right. Okay.
Basically, that was the first.
That's a big
that was the first event where I didn't just have gels. I had a bit of proper food.
Okay.
So I took some mini pork pies. I took a sausage roll off Mark Holden at about the 10-mile mark. I chased him down and got that.
Yeah.
I had some. I had some jelly babies. I had a couple of gels. I'm using that kind of thing, and also hula hoops as well. Hula hoops, little packets. I've been having a hula hoops when I've been doing my ultras and my ultra training.
Yeah, it's blowing my mind, honestly. Like the nutrition side, because I've interviewed some really great runners now, and it all seems to be pies. That was Dan Miller, McDonald's, Matt Crean, Ian Trencher, jelly babies. Like, it's not the stuff you'd imagine people to be eating,
A pre-marathon meal now is always a pizza the night before.
Right, okay. I just want to see that.
But I do tone it down. I tone it down a bit from your usual meat feast and have and have something that's a bit calm on the stomach. But,
a bit more blander.
Yeah. But pizza tends to work. And
well, there's plenty of carbs in it, I guess. It's,
yeah. I probably don't have the best diet for a runner. I've not eaten anything green since I was a toddler, and it don't seem to do me any harm.
Well, you can get them done, Ian. It's, you know, that's the main thing. The distances you run, you know, just goes to show you don't need the cleanest diet. Even if it would be beneficial, you know, you can just get round on jelly babies. But yeah, shoes. Let's talk about some shoes.
Oh, I have a shoe collection.
Oh, go on. I want to hear them, and the people at home, they all want to know what you're wearing.
What am I wearing? I think probably most ones Solomon Speedcross over the years.
Speedcross, right.
Sent a few pairs back recently though when they broke and got replacements.
Right, okay. What did they break on? Or?
Oh, I was in the same spot at the front, and Dan told me I could send them back and get replacements, so I did. So I also wear a lot of Innovate. They tend to work well. I've got mud claws. I've got the Ultrafly 300s, which I've been using for my longer runs. On the road, I'm now wearing Saucony Endorphin Shift and Shift 2s. I've got a shoe collection for different conditions.
So when you're going on, say, an ultra, would you? I'm guessing you have these like drop stations. Would you be changing shoes and know you changing terrain and change the shoe, or would you be like, for that race, that's the shoe?
For me and what I've done so far and what I'm doing, I don't think I need to do that. If I was doing a 100-miler, I'd swap my shoes maybe halfway and maybe factor in different terrain. But going up to 50 miles and doing the Lakeland 50 and the Lakeland Trails 55k, I don't think I need to be that specific.
Yeah. And if you was just running strictly road, what would your shoe of choice be? I'm happy at the moment with the Endorphin Shift. Right, okay.
But I've tried all sorts over the years. I tend to buy different ones.
So you could take down the road and then a bit of trails, nothing too crazy, is that what you mean?
Yeah, well, I actually wore them for Keilder. I wore road shoes for Keilder because the paths were in fairly good condition, and I've seen people on the photos before doing that wearing road shoes, so I knew that I could get away with it, and it did work well, even though it had been raining a few days before. Right,
brilliant. When you're on these kind of runs as well, what could you recommend for people to take? Like, what are you taking in regards to? Obviously, you've got to carry liquids and stuff like this on these long races, and take backpacks and medical gear. What, from a first timer coming on board, what could you recommend for them to get?
The absolute basics. I would say so. make sure you've got hydration and enough fuel to get you around, and then make sure you're wearing the right clothing and shoes for the course, and then also make sure you're catering for any weather conditions. So you'll be wanting a jacket and hat and gloves and maybe a spare base layer if you're potentially going to be out there and in worse weather conditions. Also, of course, head torch. If you might be stuck out. If you might be stuck out overnight, you'll be wanting to have a spare head torch. Just all the basics, the stuff you see on the mandatory kit list.
And what about like things like tents? I'm guessing there's some races you have to take like a sleeping bag tent and stuff like that.
I've not done any of those, but I know if I did, I've got the equipment for it. I've got 4 tents, and when I went on BRC camping, I must have been the best equipped person there. I set up a kitchen, and I was feeding everybody.
You're joking.
I'm not joking. I had Rob Miller next to me. He came in his little car, and even he didn't feed as many people as me. And he's a chef.
He is a chef, actually.
Yes.
He's launching his was it drop bag? Have you seen that?
Yes, I've seen the.
Is it called drop bag? I'm sure it's drop bag, isn't it?
Yeah, I've seen the food initiative. Yes, coming back to the Delft. So that's a recommendation for everybody.
This Saturday, isn't it?
That's right.
I've seen him posting about his hot sauce. He's been making some like nice chili sauces and stuff. Hasn't he? So shout out to Rob. Got to try those. Stretching and rolling, Ian. Do you do things like this?
I confess, I'm not a good stretcher or a good roller.
Right.
But I know the value of it.
Yeah.
But when you do your longer distances, I think it's less important.
Okay, that's interesting.
Because when you're starting off, you're not going at any speed, so your warm up effectively is your slower start. It's more important when you're doing the fast kind of running like you do.
Yeah.
If I do a BRC training session, I do stretching whatever, because that's short, sharp and fast. But usually when I'm doing a longer running, I don't do anything like that because I don't think it's necessary.
Right, that's interesting, because I remember myself when I started running initially, I never did stretching, nothing. But after about a year, I must have like tightened up, and then I got so many injuries. And then once I started stretching again, I noticed the body was a bit more loose. But you got to do what works for you, and if
that's right.
Not stretching is working.
I don't do that, but as mentioned, I do go swimming, etc. So that balances out the running.
It probably does, because you elongate your spine and stuff when you're swimming and stuff like that. So you probably are stretching a bit while you're swimming.
You've got nice cold water on your battered body. Yeah, which was very welcome after Sunday.
Yeah. I was actually surprised about the swimming stuff. I didn't realise you was a swimmer. I know we spoke about it earlier, but I didn't know you did that. It's something that I didn't imagine. And would you ever do a swimming competition, do you think? Or
not at my speed.
No, I mean
I mean. I tell you what. I bet I could swim across Windermere or Coniston or something.
That's what I was going to get onto.
I can swim a mile, so maybe I'll investigate outdoor swimming at some point.
That's what I'm thinking, because you're always up in the lakes, aren't you? So
yeah,
I know they do
it'd be
a lot
a
of
good combo doing that with running.
Yeah, I know they do a lot of these like swimming events where it doesn't have to be a race, does it? It's just completing like a mile, few miles.
Swim run. Swim run.
They do swim runs, or I think they do. You can do like 5Ks just swimming. I mean, that's a long way to swim.
That's
really.
A long way to swim. Yeah.
But
I've only ever swum up to a mile before. I think I'm absolutely sure we could go further.
Yeah. Well, I think you should do it here. 2023. Let's get you doing some swimming in the lakes.
After I've run 50 miles and survived, hopefully.
Yeah. Maybe do that first, and then do the swimming after that. Right. So we've talked a lot about running here, but I want to know more about Ian. Tell me about you. I know you're a software developer. Tell me about that side of you.
I am.
That people wouldn't know about.
Yeah, in my spare time when I'm not running, I'm actually a software developer for a cybersecurity company.
Wow.
And I probably bucked the trend because there's a few geeky people in my line of work, and there's a lot of people who don't exercise, and there's a lot of people who probably aren't social as me. So I think I definitely buck the trend. I'm not your typical person who might work in that line of work. I don't think.
Yeah. So what you're saying is you don't sit on your ass all day. You at least get some running done as well.
That's absolutely right. Yeah, and in between my running, that's what I fill my days with.
That's amazing. And what got you into that? Have you always been into software development and stuff, like, you know, or have you had other career paths?
Well, I actually did a history degree, and then I went working in a bank, and it was when I was working in banking that I moved into more technology.
Wow.
Based stuff. I was into computers a lot as a kid,
Yeah.
and I sort of rekindled that interest, and did a lot of study in my spare time, and subsequently moved into software development, which is how I ended up where I am now.
Right, amazing. And things like software development, I'm guessing you do a lot of coding and stuff like that.
I do. I do a lot of different technologies. I'm probably what you call a full stack developer.
Right, okay. So if there was anyone watching this who, you know, you're a coder and they were looking to get into coding, what kind of languages would you recommend and not recommend over stuff as a
they're probably better
developer?
Starting with something like Python, because it's very it's very simple.
I've actually looked into Python.
That's what I recommended to yourselves. I recommended that to you, didn't I?
We've already spoke about this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm getting into Python. There's some. Have you seen those Google qualifications you can get now?
Yeah.
They do some like free Python ones, so I've started getting into stuff like that. What about other coding languages? I know people are going to be yawning at home now, but we've got to know a little bit more about Ian and his geeky side as well.
I also do PHP,
right.
jQuery, JavaScript,
What about
SQL,
C++ and all that? Do you do them? Or?
Linux. I've got quite a broad
Yeah.
spectrum of technologies that I do.
Right, excellent. So you're quite the geek on the slide, aren't you, Ian? So it's a good thing. I'm just saying. I'm always into like loads of technology and stuff like that. Like that's why I brought that into the conversation.
I'm a bit more social and athletic than the average geek, though.
100%. So I was going to say, one of my questions here is, have you always lived in Billinge? Now, when we spoke earlier, you said, I'll meet you at the foot later. Well, it's called the Halt Sounds, and only locals would have known it was called the foot. So I'm guessing your roots do belong in Billinge.
Yeah, that's right. I grew up right by Oval Station, went to A2 University, and then I actually lived in Beach Hill then in my first house for about 12 years. And then I came back here nearer to family about 10 years ago.
So this is your roots, basically.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. I know the area like the back of my hand. I don't lose folk in the woods.
Well, I have.
I know you have.
I have. But we'll talk about that another time. So you've been a group leader for a very long time. Everyone knows you at the BRC. Everybody. Tell me a little bit how that's made you feel, how it's changed your life. You know, being involved with such a great club. Tell me a little bit about that.
It's fantastic investing in being a group leader, because you are helping people round the course, guiding them, getting them to do a great activity. It's very social. We have great photos on the way around. You don't get that with the other group leaders.
Yeah. I'll add some of those now.
Especially not the ones right at the very front who just fly around and never stop.
No, I'll put a little montage of Ian's multitude of photos. I'll have them rolling.
I did do sweeping this week though, because the legs were a bit battered.
Oh right, so was there no photos this week? Oh.
I did get a photo because I caught up to people. I caught up to my usual group and took a photo with them at the top of Billinge Hill, yes, so they still got the photo.
That's the main thing. So, yeah, people who are maybe watching this, or they're looking at getting into running and joining the BRC, what would your advice be to them? You know, like, you know,
come along,
newcomers
come
who might be nervous.
Come along on a Wednesday night. It's open to everybody. You don't need to be a member. We welcome everybody. That's the BRC motto.
It is actually.
There's a lot of people here. You'll always be looked after by a leader, or you can just come and do your own thing. A lot of people love our Wednesday nights. Come and get involved in the Wednesday night. See what it's like, and then if you want more. The opportunity is always there to become a BRC member and get involved in the other activities. But the Wednesday nights, that's where it's all at. And that, I think, is something that we offer that is fairly unique.
Very unique.
It's a different experience, I think, to what most running clubs will give you. A trail running in the dark on a course with people guiding you, helping you around, and then a wonderful social experience in the foot at the end, with free chips too. Yeah,
free chips. Remember that. And I think as well with the BRC, a lot more planning goes into it than, say, other running clubs. Because a lot of other running clubs, it's just turn up, they do the session or whatever. But, you know, a lot of thought has to go into the course mapping, the course marking. You know, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes at BRC that
absolutely
you don't see that. At other clubs,
I'm confident that we do things correctly, because when we have new people come along, especially those that have helped run events and event companies, etc., they always say how well organised we are and how we're doing things properly. So I've got confidence in that. Obviously, everyone has to come with the right gear. I don't think a Wednesday night's necessarily for brand new runners, i.e. coach to 5k people, but people who have got a little bit of experience, they can come here, and I think that it's also a stepping stone to doing bigger events. Anybody that comes here, I think, can go and do Lakeland Trails or other shorter trail events. Parbold Hill Race, etc. And it's ideal preparation for that.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, you'll definitely get fit doing trails around here, won't you? With
absolutely.
All the sheep
you can't avoid the hills.
Yeah, there's plenty hills around here.
Sheep Mountain and Heart Attack Hill.
Yeah, that's the one.
Those are the ones.
So we're talking a bit there about the social side and coming along on the Wednesday and doing the trails. Tell me how the other side of the club, the training and coaching side, has been for you. You know, like the trainings with Dan and stuff like that. How's that been different, and how's the coaching stuff helped you and stuff like that?
I confess, I've been giving it a wide berth recently while I've been marathon training, because if I did that, it knocked me out for a few days afterwards. Yeah. But
I remember back in the day,
I've been to some good sessions, and I noticed when I first started picking them up before COVID, I was going to 2 a week, and I noticed my half marathon times were improving and I'm sure it's on the back of the interval training that I was doing with Billinge Running Club.
So they're definitely working.
They definitely work,
but they
don't work when you're about to do a marathon. You need fresh legs. Yes, I will be back there in the coming weeks, because I don't have as many big events now for a while. Right. So I'm going to return to them and get the benefit of those.
So the Lakeland 50s next year, but what's the next event? Is there nothing? Have you got nothing this year till next year now, or?
I have a lot of events.
Oh right, okay.
So I'm doing. This is my. These are the events I'm on. I keep mentioning these on the chat as well to see if I can get people to join me. So I'm doing the Gravesdale Half, the Striders Trail 5, the Kendall Mountain Festival 10k.
The Striders 5, is that the one round the Dream?
Round Carmel Dam.
Carmel Dam. Which is the one round the Dream? I thought that was done by the Striders as well.
Yeah, it might be the St Helens 10k, maybe.
Maybe. It might. Oh, yeah, it's the Trail 10k, that one. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm doing, in December, I'm doing the Beacon Bash.
Right.
I'm theoretically doing the Christmas pudding 10k the day before, though I don't think that's a good idea. The Beacon Bash is a 20 miler. Yeah. I'm doing the Tocking Trail on New Year's Eve. So It's about 10k that one. Moving into next year, I've got a night recce of the 50 in January. That'll be interesting. I've got the Haworth Hobble at the beginning of March, which is 31 miles. I entered that the other day and then discovered they don't like GPX, and I'm a techie, so I've got to navigate myself around that. Other ones I've got the Lakeland Trails Hawkshead.
Right.
I've got the Snowdonia Half Marathon.
Right.
The Ultrawater 20.
Hold on here. Stop. Is this all still this year?
Oh, next year, sorry.
Right.
Moving into... It's still in the next year
I'm
from
thinking,
now.
hold on, this is... we're in
next
October
year, in the next year, in the build-up to the 50.
Right, okay, I see.
Yeah, the Ultrawater 20, and then I'm doing a 26-mile recce for the 50.
Right.
And then 3 weeks before I do the 50, I'm doing the Snowdonia Trail Ultra Marathon, and that goes all the way up Snowdon and all the way back down. That's the marathon version of the very hard half that I mentioned to you earlier.
Wow.
And then it's the big one. It's the 50 with 15 more BRC.
And what about the 100? Would you take that on in a couple of years? Or
I've said I'm not doing anything with 100 in it.
Right, yeah, well.
Yeah, I know my limits.
Yeah, it's. I've sat down and spoke with Lewis about these 100s. I honestly don't know how people can do that. I mean, yes, I'm a runner myself, but not distances like that.
I like my sleep. I can't. It'd take me a while, and I can't stay awake for 3 nights.
No, well, I know it's a lot, and hats off to anyone.
And Bullseye 25k as well next September.
Next September.
So I've got events booked so far ahead. I always get the early birds.
What we're going to have to do is we're going to have to do a spreadsheet, and I'll put the picture on the screen now of all Ian's runs for the rest of the year and next year, and we can. Because it's a lot to digest.
Yeah. Hopefully people can join me as well.
Is there anything you'd like to talk about and bring to the podcast? Is there anything you'd like to tell people at home about the club?
All I can say is that it's a wonderful club.
Yeah.
Certainly enriched my life and that of a lot of others. We offer something unique because we are a bit more trail orientated than a lot of clubs. We offer a different type of social event on a Wednesday night.
Yeah.
We're new, we're innovative. We got the best race vests that I've ever seen.
Yeah, they're here.
They're here, like this one. Yeah.
We've got stuff all over it today because it's blowing a gale force. So sorry if you can't see that, guys. But yeah.
Yeah, so if
gear.
you've not tried us yet, come along and join the fun.
Fantastic. And the last question, Ian, the question of the day. It's not an outrageous one like not last week's episode. Next week's episode that's the question of the day on that. I don't want to spoil that one, but you are probably the most experienced marathon runner I've spoke to so far. The amount of marathons you've done. For people out there at home and they're looking to do a trail marathon, sorry, everything's just. Oh.
I'm not more experienced than the guy last week, am I?
Well, you've done. I think you might have done more, to be honest.
Wow.
But
I'm a bit slower than he is.
Well, you've done that many, Ian.
I've done a few. I've done a lot of events, haven't I? I've done a lot of events.
So the question is, for people out there who are looking to do a trail marathon, which one would you tell them to do first? Or what's the best one? What's your favourite one?
Trail marathon wise, probably can't go wrong with doing the Lakeland Trails.
Lakeland Trails, okay.
The Lakeland Trails marathon. It's a good one for first timers. You don't have to self-navigate. It's well marked.
Yeah.
Very well marshalled. It's a very good, interesting course. There are a few technical bits, but nothing too challenging.
Okay.
It's a great route, and I would certainly advocate that as a first trail marathon. It was my first trail marathon, believe it or not.
Right, excellent. Right, well, thank you very much, Ian.
You're welcome.
We've gone through quite a lot there, so thank you very much for coming on. And next week we'll be back with another episode. Yeah, hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you very much for coming on, Ian.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.